The crying started after the lights went out. Soft at first, then sharper, like someone was trying not to break, and failing anyway. I froze in the middle of the church aisle, because I knew, without turning around, that I was not supposed to be hearing anyone else. I had stayed late that night, much later than usual. Wednesday service had ended almost an hour before. Most people had gone home fast because rain had started falling hard. The kind of rain that hits the roof like handfuls of stones. I was one of the last to leave. Then Pastor asked if someone could lock the side hall. I said yes. I always said yes to small things. Stacking chairs, turning off fans, checking windows, carrying old boxes no one touched. Quiet jobs, background jobs, the kind that let me stay useful without needing to be seen. That had become my life for a while. Useful, present, tired. I was faithful but not joyful. I still prayed, still came to church, still lifted my hands when everyone else did. But something inside me had gone quiet. Months earlier, my mother had died. Even now, writing those words in my mind still hurts. She was the person who prayed over everything. Over meals, over headaches, over journeys, over bills, over me, especially over me. When she was alive, faith felt warm. After she passed, faith felt like memory. I kept showing up anyway. Not because I was strong, because I did not know where else to go. That night, the church building felt larger than normal. Too much empty space. The main auditorium was half dark. Only the small bulbs near the altar were still on. The red carpet looked deeper in low light. The wooden pews cast long shadows across the floor. Rain beat hard against the windows. The sound filled every corner. I checked the side hall first. No one there. I locked it. Then I walked back through the main auditorium, holding the key ring and my phone flashlight. My steps sounded too loud. Every movement echoed. Even my breathing felt like noise. That was when I heard it. A woman crying. Not from outside. Not from the street. Inside the church. I stopped so suddenly the keys slipped in my hand. The cry came again. Low. Broken. Real. It came from near the front. Close to the altar. I stood there, staring into the darkness. My first thought was simple. Someone stayed behind. My second thought came slower. How? I had seen everyone leave. I had checked the side rooms. Still, the crying continued. I started walking forward. Slowly. My flashlight shook a little in my hand, and that annoyed me. I told myself to be calm. This was church, not some abandoned building. Probably just a woman praying. Probably someone overwhelmed. Probably nothing strange at all. But my chest did not believe that. The crying sounded different the closer I got. Not louder. Deeper. Like it was full of years. Like each breath carried pain too old for words. I reached the front row. No one. I moved the flashlight toward the altar. Nothing. The crying stopped. Just like that. The silence after it was worse than the sound. I waited. I listened. Only rain. Only the hum of one standing fan near the wall. Only my own heart beating too fast. I almost laughed at myself. Almost. Then I whispered, hello. No answer. I swept the light across the platform. The drums were covered. The keyboard was off. The pulpit stood alone. 2 white flowers near the altar had started to dry at the edges. Everything looked normal. But the air did not feel normal. It felt heavy. I cannot explain that better. Just heavy. I took one more step. Then my phone screen went black. The flashlight died. My battery had been at 30%. I knew it had. I tapped the screen. Nothing. Pressed the power button. Nothing. A cold line moved through my back. The church was almost fully dark now. Only those distant altar bulbs remained. Weak. Yellow. Not enough to comfort anyone. I should have left then. That would have been the smart thing. But something held me there. Not force. Not fear exactly. Something closer to being watched and invited. Then I heard it again. Not crying this time. A whisper. My name. I turned so fast my shoulder hit the end of a pew. The whisper had come from behind me. Close. Too close. Stay. That was the word. Quiet. Female. Gentle. I wish I could say I was brave. I was not. I backed away at once. My mouth went dry. I gripped the dead phone like it could save me. Every story I had ever heard about strange voices in empty places came rushing back at once. I wanted to run. Instead, I said the only thing that came to mind. Jesus. My voice cracked. So I said it again. Jesus. The rain grew louder. Or maybe I just noticed it more. I stood there in the dark, breathing hard, trying to decide whether I was losing my mind. Grief can do strange things. Exhaustion can do strange things too. I had been sleeping badly for weeks, working all day, smiling when needed, breaking in private. Maybe this was that. Maybe my mind had finally started leaking. Then a new sound rose from the front. Not crying, singing, very soft. A hymn, old enough that most people my age barely knew it. But I knew it, because my mother used to sing it while cooking. She sang it while braiding my sister's hair. She sang it while washing clothes by hand. She sang it on mornings when money was low and hope was lower. She called it her fighting song. The voice near the altar sang the first line, then stopped. I could not breathe for a second, because I had not heard that hymn in years. Not in church, not on the radio, not anywhere. And the voice, it was not exactly my mother's voice, but it carried something of her softness, something of her pain, something of her peace. My knees weakened. I lowered myself into the front pew without meaning to. I sat there in the dark, staring at the altar bulbs, listening for the next line. Nothing came. Only silence. Then the tears started. Fast. Ugly. The kind that hurt the face. I had not cried like that at church since the funeral. I had done what many people call being strong. I attended services, accepted condolences, answered messages, went back to work, helped at home, smiled when people said, "She is in a better place." But inside I was angry. Not just sad, angry. At hospitals, at prayers that seemed unanswered, at believers who spoke too quickly, at God for taking the one voice that made everything feel safe. I had never said that part out loud. Never. Even in prayer, I edited myself. That night, in the dark church, I stopped editing. I bent forward and covered my face, and I spoke in a whisper so raw it barely sounded human. I am tired. The words fell out by themselves. I am tired, God. My shoulders shook. I come here. I serve. I try. But I am tired. No thunder answered. No bright light filled the room. So I kept going. I don't understand you. That sentence scared me. But it was true. I don't understand why you took her. I swallowed hard. I don't understand why I keep pretending I am okay. Rain rolled over the roof in waves. I pressed my palms together so tightly they hurt. And if you are still near me, if you are really still near me, please say something I can hold. That was it. Not a polished prayer. Not a church prayer. A tired prayer. An honest one. And maybe that was the first real one I had prayed in months. Nothing happened for several seconds. Then I felt it. A hand on my shoulder. Light. Warm. Impossible. I jerked up at once. No one was there. But the warmth remained. Not on my skin. In me. That is the strangest part. The fear that had filled me since the first cry vanished. Not slowly. Immediately. In its place came peace. Thick. Steady. Deep. The kind that does not ask permission before entering. I looked toward the altar again. And this time I saw someone. A woman. Kneeling near the front. Head bowed. White scarf around her shoulders. Still as stone. I stood slowly. My heart pounded again, but differently now. I took one step. Then another. The woman did not move. I stopped a few feet away. "Ma." No answer. I moved closer. The altar bulbs flickered once. Then steadied. And I saw the truth. There was no woman. Only one of the white flower stands. Covered partly by a folded cloth. From where I had been sitting, in the half-light, it looked like a person kneeling. I stared at it for a long time. Then looked around the platform again. Empty. Completely empty. A chill touched my arms. But peace stayed. I cannot explain how both existed together. Then something caught my eye beneath the front pew. A small book. Worn at the corners. I bent down and picked it up. It was a hymn book. Old. Very old. The cover was faded blue. Inside the front page, written in careful handwriting, were two words that made my chest tighten. My mother's name. I almost dropped it. We had lost several of her things after the burial. Some were borrowed, some misplaced, some never found. This book was one of them. I remembered because she used to keep notes in the margins. My fingers trembled as I turned the pages. There they were, her tiny notes, her underlines, her habit of placing dates beside songs that carried her through hard seasons. And on the hymn I had just heard, she had written one sentence beside the first verse. For the night my son will need this. I stopped breathing. I read it again. Then again. The ink was old. Not fresh. Not planted. Not something written that day. My eyes blurred so badly I had to wipe them with my sleeve. For the night my son will need this. I sank back into the pew. My hands covered my mouth. Because suddenly the whole night shifted. The crying. The whisper. The song. The hand on my shoulder. I do not claim to understand every detail. I still cannot tell you exactly what I heard with human logic. Maybe heaven is kinder than we think. Maybe God knows how to reach broken people in ways no sermon can. Maybe grief had opened a door in me that pride had kept shut. All I know is this. I did not walk into an empty church that night. I walked into an appointment. I opened the hymn book to the marked page. And this time I sang. Quietly at first. Then stronger. My voice shaking. The words felt old and alive at once. By the second verse, I was crying again. But not the same way. Before, my tears had been full of protest. Now they carried release. I was not suddenly healed of grief. Grief does not vanish because of one holy moment. But something changed shape inside me. The loneliness broke. That is the best way to say it. The loneliness broke. For the first time since my mother died, I knew I had not been abandoned. Not by her memory. Not by God. Not even in my anger. Especially not there. I do not know how long I stayed. Long enough for the rain to soften. Long enough for my dead phone to suddenly light back on when I touched it. 31% battery. As if nothing had happened. I laughed through tears when I saw that. Then I locked the church and stepped outside. The air smelled like wet dust and leaves. The street lights glowed on the road. Water ran along the gutters. Somewhere in the distance, a generator hummed back to life. Everything looked ordinary again. But I was not ordinary anymore. The next Sunday, I returned early. I looked for that book where I had found it. It was gone. I searched the front pews, the platform, the side room, the usher's stand. Nothing. I even asked one of the older women if she had seen an old blue book. She shook her head. Then she looked at me strangely and said, "That hymn your mother loved came to my mind all night on Wednesday. I almost called you. I just stood there. Because I had told no one. Not yet. I still have questions. Some nights I still miss my mother, so much it feels physical. Some mornings faith still feels quieter than I want. But now when silence scares me, I remember that church. That rain. That cry in the dark. And the note waiting inside an old book. For the night my son will need this." Maybe that is what changed me most. Not just that God saw my pain, but that he had seen it long before I arrived. Long before the breakdown. Long before the prayer. Long before that night. He had already made room for my healing. And maybe he has done the same for you. Maybe the thing breaking you now is not hidden from him. Maybe the night you fear most is the very night he plans to meet you there. Maybe the tears you think no one hears are already being answered. If this story reminded you that God still moves in quiet places, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this channel, because some miracles are not loud. Some miracles wait in the dark until the exact moment your heart is ready to hear them.